Hello, everyone, and welcome to Snap Take. This is Glazer of Snap Judgments, the official podcast of Marvel Snap Zone. We've got 3 great decks for you here today, including the new #1 deck. That's not the one on the screen. We're starting with an exclusive deck that was sent to me by a viewer who this deck is off the charts powerful. If you have access to these cards, this is great. The #1 deck is actually cheaper than this. We're going to get started by talking about what this is. So, last week, and then, earlier this week, and then the week before, I shared a deck that I called the highest win rate deck. Woody's been playing it. Dexter took it to Conkers. No one actually knows who made it. It just turned up on Untapped with high stats. We shared it first, and then it sort of spread all over the meta, thanks to its unbelievable untapped stats. This is that deck, except it adds in an Ajax and Hazmat, and I was like, this deck doesn't need Ajax and Hazmat. It's already so good. And then I played with it with Ajax and Hazmat, and Blue Tears just through the roof power on this deck. So, Blue Tears has no socials. This is exclusive here. Elsa and Nocturne can be Cassandra or just Jeff, Nightcrawler, Juggernaut. We covered an Ajax Hazmat free version last week if you're interested in that. It's actually in Friday's video, so please check that out. Thena can actually just be any good too. White Widow, Jeff, or Medusa. Kitty, Mockingbird, and Sasquatch are, however, all needed for this version. As is Hope Summers, Hope is like the secret sauce here to what really, really pulls this deck together. It's like a really good rug, man. Okay, so if you have access to these cards, and I'm aware this is an expensive one, if you have access to these cards, please do try this deck. You will not be disappointed, or at least I will be very surprised if you're disappointed. So, turn 1, you Kitty. Turn 2, Angela is better than Thena is better than Kitty. Turn 3, you want to drop Hope. If you don't have Hope, Thena and Kitty are fine. If you don't have Thena and Kitty, Elsa. If not that, Nocturne. So far, so good. Turn 4, you Gwenpool on Hope, or Kitty and a 3. Either which way is totally fine. Turn 5, you want to go Hazmat, Mysterio, and Kitty. And if you can get all 3 on Hope, the game is over. But if you can't get all 3 on Hope, you'll be totally fine. If you can get Mysterio out and at least one other card, you've got, and if anything is on Hope, you can go off with Sasquatch and Mockingbird. And if you go off with Sasquatch and Mockingbird at the end of the game, especially after a Gwenpool, you're really going to town. What Ajax is here for is 2 things, really. So, Ajax is here because he's just the simple thing that gets the biggest outside of Blob in an Arishem deck. Ajax is often a 20-plus power card that's really, really powerful, obviously, in lane winning and often unexpected, especially in this shell. Even if you dropped Hazmat, they're like, what the hell is that Hazmat? The other thing it does here is, the other thing Hazmat technically does here is it pulls Mockingbird and Sasquatch down to 9 power. So if you end up going, for example, Mysterio early, or you go Mockingbird and Sasquatch with priority, you can play Hazmat after them. And if you can play Hazmat after those 2 cards, they now have 9 power, as long as they weren't hit by Gwenpool. They now have 9 power and are Shang-proof, and it's a really great way to steal some cubes. This deck is, again, absolutely excellent. Remember that you're sort of semi-trying to stack one lane. You're trying to stack an Angela Hope lane, and then you're trying to win, sort of chase them away from that lane, or get them to compete and blow them out. Elsa is sort of really the swing card here. It's not totally necessary. That could be Copycat. That could be lots of different cards. It's just Elsa on occasion with Mysterio just equals an absolute insane amount of power. It is probably the least important high series card here. Feel free to change it for even Juggernaut is perfectly fine. But it's just, this deck is all about putting out massive amounts of power and challenge your opponent to figure out where and how much before you can steal cubes. Props to Blue Tears. Thanks for reaching out with this deck. Blue Tears also, so Cozy just released a video of a Surfer deck. I swear to you, and I don't think it came from Blue Tears. Blue Tears isn't like a content creator, so it's unlikely that it came from anywhere. Sent me the same freaking Surfer list with 1 card different, like a week and a half ago. I've got the messages in my DMs. So these are legit decks. Phenomenal deck builder. Please try this out. I don't think you'll be sad. Please also hit that sub button. Our goal is to hit 15,000 by the end of the year. That is a long shot goal, and we need your help. Hopefully you enjoy the content, and if you do, hit that sub button. We do 7 days a week of Marvel Snap videos here. Yesterday we had a podcast with Ika, a phenomenal deck builder, and the famous Binks of Binks Plays fame. Every other day we give you at least 3 brand new decks. Please hit that sub. If you're already subbed, like and comment. It really does help us grow. We also are always giving away a season pass. Tomorrow, I will announce last week's winners of the Season Pass. honestly, because I didn't think to pull winners before this video. So tomorrow we will pull a season pass winner. We give away 1 season pass a week. All you have to do is be subbed and comment on the videos. There will be a question every single video. All you have to do is comment. And you know what? Let's make today easy for you and tell you what that question is right now. Ready for the question? The question is, Cassandra Nova has completely wiped Arishem out of my meta. Is that the case for everyone? I'm not seeing Arishem in Deadpool's Diner. I'm not seeing Arishem on Ladder. Arishem has disappeared like a freaking ghost, like the card was never printed. I saw it once out of my last 50 games. Have you been seeing Arishem in the past 2 or 3 days? How much Arishem are you seeing? How do you feel about the meta right now, if Arishem is gone or if Arishem is here? What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments. That's how you enter a season pass giveaway. This next deck is, well, okay, we didn't know Baron Zemo was going to be in the weekend missions, so since it's Sunday and you have an extra 2 days when I release this, I wanted to give you a Baron Zemo deck. We're going to give you 2 Baron Zemo decks. This is the first one. This is the one with the full guide, because we covered the other Baron Zemo deck on Friday. Actually, I think last Wednesday, if I'm being totally accurate. But either which way, we're going to cover Baron Zemo and this Baron Zemo deck here today. This is a Buddy deck. It's inspired by a Safety Blade deck. We cover Buddy fairly often on the channel. Phenomenal player who releases a lot of his decks on Twitter. So this is just a powerful list, and I really thought I put more variants in it, but well, what are you going to do? This list basically just says I'm going to junk up the opponent. You try and win 1 lane by junking things up. And let me tell you, I really want Titania every time I play this kind of list. But you're trying to junk up the opponent. And if you can junk up the opponent, you can win another lane with Sersi, who just makes things huge. And if you can't win with Sersi, your backup game plan is fundamentally Mockingbird and Shang-Chi. What Cassandra Nova has fundamentally done to the meta by weakening Arishem so much is allowed decks like this to return to the game. Now, Full Clog has gotten really dangerous and sort of left the meta. I don't know if you've noticed, but the Dr. Octopus Full Clog decks are sort of gone because the mini mover decks, like the Sizer decks we covered all last week, are all over the place. I think of them, they're all running Kitty, Thena, Angela packages, but they're also running Nocturne, they're also running Gwenpool, they're also running either Captain Marvel or Vision or both. Those decks are all over the meta, and Clog is really bad against that kind of move because it's just hard to clog things when things are going in and out of lanes, right? You pick a location wrong, all of a sudden you're just in a lot of trouble. So that kind of deck is sort of gone. So we don't want to go full Clog, right? But I think if Arishem is really gone, this kind of Zemo mini mill thing is actually pretty good. We're going to look at a more full mill later. We asked the question already. I decided to give that to you in advance of this. So you can find Buddy at twitter.com/BuddyLean. That's 2 Ds and 2 I's. Nocturne, Cassie, and Copycat are just good cards. You can try Gladiator, Polaris, Spider-Man, Red Guardian, Mobius, almost anything in there. They are literally, for this list, just good cards. Half the time, they're here literally to just get changed. They're here to get changed by Mockingbird, because 4 is a really powerful cost curve that doesn't have a ton of bad things for you. White Widow can be Jeff or Medusa, but if you don't have White Widow, you want to replace Debris. Those 2 cards are meant to be used in concert as much as possible. Although if you replace White Widow with, I don't think I would replace White Widow with Titania. Sorry, no. All right, Sersi and Mockingbird are needed. Though, you can add Squirrel Girl, Killmonger, Deathstrike, and Death, and create an alternative version of this deck relatively simply. If you have interest in doing so, that's perfectly freaking fine. You just, at that point, I think you're also probably taking out Mysterio, but that's just an alternate version of the deck that works perfectly fine. It's a very powerful list, and you won't need the other high series cards. So this is a weekend missions deck. Turn 1, it's what I used. Literally, I used this exact list for my weekend missions. It took me 7 games. I went 4-3 with a positive Q break. Good enough for me. Turn 1, Hood. Turn 2, Mysterio or Widow. If you Widow, you want a Debris, because you're trying to set up a Mockingbird. If you Hooded on turn 1, or played Mysterio, you want a Viper. You want a Viper over a Mysterio clone, or Viper over that Hood. If you didn't do any of those things, then just play Nocturne. Turn 4 is a turn 3 play plus a Demon. Turn 5 is Sersi, ideally on a 3 and Mysterio. And then turn 6 is Mockingbird and Shang and stuff. And then you win, because this deck is really, really great. Please remember that Sersi, by transforming a bunch of stuff, does make Mockingbird cheaper. It's one of the best ways to pump Mockingbird. This deck has been very fun and very powerful. In addition, last week, Komi's, the Marvel Snap World Champion. Every time I say this, someone asks, so I'm just going to keep saying it whenever Komi's comes up. Comey's, there was a tournament series that Snap Fan, Snap Battle Arena, and this other player who no longer plays Snap, who was great, Alphos, had, and they all had this giant tournament series for the first like year of Snap, and all the winners were put into a winners tournament, and the winner was declared the Snap World Champion. Comey's won that tournament. He is the current reigning Snap World Champion. This is the Comey's Loki list. It is a list that runs Copycat and Zemo, which means it works for weekend missions. If you don't have Copycat, please feel free to cut Copycat. It is not a big deal on this list, but if you do happen to have Copycat and Zemo, this is a great way to complete your weekend missions. If you are missing U.S. Agent for this list, add Shang-Chi and change Blink to Mockingbird. Got it? We all good? Shang-Chi, Blink, Mockingbird, and you should be totally freaking fine. This list can win by milling out the opponent and just winning that way, or it can win by going, hey, Loki's a pretty freaking good card. I've got a bunch of cards on the board. Loki, thank you, next. Cool. Nice and simple list. We, again, covered this, I want to say last Wednesday, could have been last Thursday. Time is a flat circle. So if you're interested in it, please do try it out. Really, really easy weekend mission deck. If you're interested in seeing any of these decks in action, please do check out the stream team. Today is Sunday, so over on the King of Canada's Twitch, you can find gameplay from these decks. This morning, FaThorNewman should also have a YouTube video with like his favorite decks of the week and how he felt about those. He plays all of them in his Saturday stream and then like sort of does a big review of them. And then tomorrow, if you're interested, check out Gregor2424 for some more stream team. All right, next we have the number one deck. This is our last deck of the day. This is Barzi's Movers. This is that sort of sizer-based move deck that is everywhere. Barzi hit number one, is currently reigning at number one, which we know because he hangs out in Sizer's chat and Sizer keeps playing him. Whenever the game ends, it's a number one, right? Or whenever the game starts, sorry, it's a number one next to his name. So Barzi is absolutely dominating with this list. This has taken out arishem. This has taken out fundamentally everything. It is just a really, really powerful mid-range list. This is the descendant of the Lambie Little Movers / Silky Smooth list. You'll note a couple of inclusions that you might think should be different that we'll talk about as we go through the list. But this list is just a ton of mid-range power that shuts down a lot of what opponents do. It's really, really hard for basically anything but Bounce to play around Juggernaut. And it's really hard to play around both Juggernaut and Shang at the same time. And then finally, it's really hard to know how much power is coming down on the last turn, largely because of Gwenpool, but also because Captain Marvel means you can guess wrong and still win the game. And Captain Marvel at a 7 or 9 power is just kind of crazy. All right, so this is the rank 1 player. He plays on the Euro server. He does not have Sidra Bob, but I think Hydra Bob for this list is probably better than Nightcrawler. And the same is true of Nocturne. He's using Copycat because he does not have Nocturne. Copycat is, however, a mirror breaker. If you're playing a lot of opponents who are playing the same deck and you get an extra Captain Marvel, you get an extra Angela, whatever, it's really, really great. If you don't have Jeff, Jeff can be Silk. If you don't have Thena, Thena can be Elsa. You do need Hope Summers. You do need Gwenpool. Got it? You need Hope, you need Gwenpool, and I'm pretty sure you actually need Thena for this. You need Thena if you don't have Elsa. Thena just is a lot of power, and Kitty is like the enabler for all this stuff. All right. Turn 1, Kitty or pass. Unless there's a clear curve, then you can drop Nightcrawler, right? Like if you're going to go Angela, Hope, Gwenpool, then you can just drop Nightcrawler early usually. Although there are a lot of 4+1 plays on turn 5 that you're cutting yourself off for if you play that Nightcrawler too early. Turn 2 is Angela over Thena. Turn 3, Hope over Thena and a 1 over Copycat if it's a good card. One of the upsides of running Nocturne over Copycat in this list is that Copycat, ooh, geez, my wrist, is that Copycat, is that Copycat is not always a good play on curve, while Nocturne always is. It's also worth noting that Sizer in his current version of the list, sitting at around rank 7 or 8 on the Infinite Leaderboard, that Sizer in his version has not cut Copycat, but instead cut Vision for Nocturne. I don't know if that's right, I'm just keeping you informed on what's being done with this list. Gwenpool is ideally a turn 4 play. Yes, I don't care if Thena is there. You just want to be able to start planning your power for the rest of the game, and Gwenpool early is important for that. It's where I mess up most. I get greedy and try and do Gwenpool on 5 all the time. Otherwise, you play a 3+1, and then you play Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is what you really want to be playing on turn 5, ideally with a 1, but you're also fine playing Vision. If you're playing Vision, you can please feel free to play Captain Marvel at the end of the game. Again, you want Captain Marvel to come out last in mirrors. This way, after the opponent's Captain Marvel moves, your Captain Marvel moves, and that's how you win. Juggernaut and Shang or Captain Marvel are how you end the game. Ideally, Hope Summers gives you the ability to play both of those together. If you cannot play both of those together, you will do totally fine with Shang and Angela, Shang and Jeff, or Juggernaut and Copycat, or something along those lines. Cool? Don't over-index on Thena. Your goal is to get Thena to 7, and then if you happen to get her to 10 on the last turn of the game, that's really good. This list is, again, super strong and super consistent. I urge you to check it out. This is, in the eyes of many of the top players, the best deck in Marvel Snap. Whatever the perfect 12 is, we're not quite all the way there yet, but we are very close, and this is currently dominating everything. This is beating... my bounce deck has a good matchup into it, but this is beating all the arishem decks, all the clog decks, all the other things. It's what this deck is what has chased clog out of the meta, while Cassandra Nova has chased arishem out of the meta. If arishem comes back, then Cassandra Nova can replace Copycat or Vision in this list, and then you will still win that matchup too. So don't hesitate to try this out, knowing that it is perfectly powerful into basically all forms of the meta, and something you should be looking into playing on the infinite leaderboard. Also, I'm just going to say this now. 2 or 3 people have commented, like, why aren't you giving us Deadpool's Diner decks? I'm giving you Deadpool's Diners decks. I'm giving you great decks. Guess what? If the deck is number 1 on the infinite leaderboard, it can handle Deadpool's Diner. So chill. Cool? Literally, I give you 3 decks a day. They're all proven. I don't do unproven lists that don't work. So if they work, they'll work in Deadpool's Diner. All good? Questions of the day, and then we're out of here. We got 5 for you today. Our first question of the day, sorry, nothing like super deep here. Like it, in Friday's video, I went on for like 15 minutes about institutional racism and how representation matters. If you're interested in that, please check it out. But today is mostly Marvel Snap, and then one little life question. Mandatory Burnout wants to know about games I won or lost due to RNG and how it made me feel. So I don't remember a ton of games I win or lose, period, whether it be RNG or not. I know specifically because I talked about it on the podcast that I lost 2 games in a row because arishem generated, I lost the name of this card, Kyera, on me, and those generated Kairas stopped my Shang, which lost me the game, which is like womp womp, sucks to suck, I guess. I've won and lost a ridiculous amount of games based on what Dr. Octopus pulls. Sometimes Dr. Octopus pulls a, if you know your opponent's playing Dr. Octopus, by the way, hold your Nocturne / Jeff in hand along with your Shang so that, like, hopefully they get pulled. And if they get pulled, then that is sort of a wasted Doc Ock, which is awesome. It's awesome to make them just play a bunch of your cards, give you a bunch of power, and then you can still move things around. I don't like the feeling of winning or losing based on RNG. When I've got a 50-50 Shang and I win completely randomly, I don't feel great. When I've got a 50-50 where to put Werewolf and I win randomly, it's fine. Like, that's not generally how I like to win. However, a reasonable amount of time, I can read what my opponent's going to do depending on rank and so on, and figure out where they're going to play their big card or where they're going to play that Werewolf, and that feels pretty good. Losing based on, like, completely generated bullshit is not great. I lost, I do remember one. An opponent on the last turn played Lockjaw with 3 cards into Lockjaw, and in the deck were 3 0-cost cards, and 1 6, and it went 0 2 6, and like it was putting more zeros back in the deck, and it was just annoying. I was just like, if that pulled that last 0, I had this one for 8. But what are you gonna do? That one doesn't bother. Like, I guess it bothers me. It doesn't bother me a lot. It's more just like heavy duty eye roll. I'll tell you what I do actually rage at a little bit. Sometimes Nocturne decides to, like, screw you. I don't hate when my Nocturne beats me. I hate when my opponent's Nocturne beats me. I don't know why. When the opponent, like, because that's when I made the exact right play. I read them. I knew Nocturne was moving there. And Nocturne's like, now your card switches sides, or now +5 to everything here, or whatever nonsense. That's really, really Inner Chimp asks how many hips I have. I have every hip in the game. I didn't go count. Sorry. But I have every damn hip in the game except 3. So in around February of last year, they released 2 bundles at the same time. 2 is, 2 bundles at the same time. They released 1 bundle that had really great value, but a variant that wasn't great, and 1 bundle that had a Dan Hip Moon Girl, a Dan Hip Devil Dinosaur, but mediocre value. I bought the good value one, and I regret it. I was still just working my way through Series 3. I think I was almost done with Series 3. It wasn't February, it had to be earlier. Whatever the hell it was. And I needed the extra boost to economy stuff. The old tokens, no spotlight system was a pain in the ass, and you had to sort of min-max a lot more than you do with, if you're a spender at all, then you have to do with spotlights. So I missed that one, and they've never put it back. And then a couple of months later, I didn't even realize it was a Dan Hip until it was out of the shop. There was a Dan Hip group that came in the shop, and I missed the Dan Hip Groots as well. I would really, really like an opportunity to buy those, and I wish Second Dinner would let me give them money for things I would like to buy, but that's apparently not exactly their business model, so what are you going to do? Joe Pro wants to know how to get a question read out in a video. So the easiest way is to just, okay, so the main way is you leave a comment that has a question in it, and then when I go find questions, there's a setting in YouTube Studio that I can go to that says sort by questions, but it doesn't catch everything, and thus I miss some questions. If you want your question in the video, honestly, the 100% is on the Snap Judgments League Discord, not the Marvel Snap Zone Discord, the Snap Judgments League Discord. It is linked in the description to this video. And, okay, so after you click that, there's a section that is called Ask Laser. In there, if you ask me a question, I like keep an eye on that all the time because it's on the Discord. It gives me notifications. I can go back and check it. There's no real chance of anything getting lost. That's the surest way. The other way, the way to like 100% guarantee it, is if you're a Patreon and you ask on Patreon, I make sure to answer the question. Cool. Parry is curious if I'd like instance encounters in Snap and how they work. I think we already sort of have instance encounters. So an instant speed spell is triggered is Mbaku with the end of the game trigger, or Angel, right? Or cards getting bigger when X, Y, or Z happens. They're just more face up. I'd like more of them with time, but I think whatchamacallit, Makari, right, is an instant speed spell. Or sorry, I guess not instant. I guess these would be technically sorcery. No, Makari is sorcery, the others are instant. But like, yeah, that I think is basically how it would have to work in Marvel Snap, and I'm fine with that. You can argue Kitty Pryde works much the same way. So like, I think that is fundamentally how it would work. Attach it to a card. I do think eventually they should start adding different card types, but I'm not sure if that's where I would start. I would prefer to start with okay, so I used to play Game of Thrones, living card game, and there's this thing called an agenda, which you would like just attach to your deck, and at the start of the game, it would change your condition. It would say you have more cards, but you draw an extra card, or that one was the most powerful one ever. Or it would say you don't get XYZ at the start of the game, but you get extra energy, or whatever, right? It's sort of what they've done with Arishem and Thanos. You play that card and it gives you an effect. I'd like that to be just like something you don't play in your deck. Instead, you just sort of attach to your deck at the start that the opponent can see, the opponent knows about, and that would be how I'd like them to use teams. I'd like that to be like Avengers, X-Men, New Mutants, etc., and that's how I would like them to do it. That would be my preference. Models asked one skill I don't have that I want my son to have, and there are two skills that I think are really relevant here. One my son is already doing. I always wanted to learn an instrument, and I didn't. I don't know why. Whenever I tried, it was very, very difficult for me. For whatever reason, and I just, as a kid, quit. My son plays piano. He gets piano lessons every Tuesday. He doesn't practice a ton, so he's not going to be great, but he's good and enjoys it, and I'm really happy he does. The other thing is I'm an atrocious cook. I can cook like 4 things. I can cook like a chicken cutlet. I can make like pasta. I can make rice, grilled cheese, basic shit. Yeah. I'd like to learn to cook. I used to do the Blue Apron / some other meal kit that's name I don't remember for a while, just to try and learn, and it was something to do with my wife. But our kitchen is very small, and my wife does not have a lot of patience, and cooking is one of the ways she expresses herself, so she mostly just kicks me out of the kitchen. And by mostly, I mean she gets really kind of annoyed if I'm in the kitchen. So I've come to terms with I'm probably never going to learn to cook. Once in a while, she'll be like, I don't want to cook, and I'll be like, you want me to try? And she's like, get away from my kitchen. So I don't know how to cook. I wish I did, and so hopefully my son can learn how to cook, although that's going to have to be later on because my wife will also not let him near the damn kitchen. So I don't know what to tell you, but that is one of the main skills. I think cooking is a really important life skill, and I wish I was better at it. I've wondered what would happen if, for whatever reason, my wife was no longer around and how I would manage to feed my son. I'm pretty sure I would just go back to like Blue Apron and learn to frickin' do it every night, right? And then use that to like learn to cook on my own, because once I have the instructions, I'm perfectly capable. I'm just not how do I put this? I'm just not like confident without instruction, without like direction. So I think I could do it, but for the time being, I sort of don't, because it's not worth the fight with my wife, and she's an incredible cook. All right, that's the questions for the day. I'm going to say thank you to our patrons. If you're interested in being one of our patrons, check out patreon.com/snapjudgments. We've got the OG AG Abigail Giesland, the one, the great mandatory Burnout. Hey, Burnout, we got to do that DJing thing. Cables, Matt H, number one. Irregardless, it is a word. David G. Wingfield, Direwolf. Thank you for the question earlier, Direwolf. Always kind, LAB. FaThorNewman. Go check him out on Twitch. He's on YouTube too, but go check him out on Twitch because he's trying to make partner and we're trying to help him. Good Dog Gamer. I did read what you wrote. I will get back to you soon. Thank you for speaking with me. This is the way, all the way from Scotland. Ink, the Graphite Fanatic. I am Frostman. You sure are. Jay Navarrete. Thank you, Jay. Corwin hasn't said if I'm saying the name right, so I'm going to assume I am for the time being. Let me know. Primed Ryan of Prime Mind. Check out the app. It's really great. Caretakes Lee, the king of questions. Koire. Coming all the way from Japan. The homie, Koire, who we saw in the question section. Pyro Froze. Hey, Pyro. The Goat Seeker, who I haven't seen on ladder. You doing good, Goat? Denman Falcon. Check him out on YouTube. Quid Pro Joe, who just asked a question. Doc D, the king of new Marvel Snap card content. Fat Nick. Ginger Prime. Hey, Ginger. Ratco, who is now in the official like main team of like helping to organize the channel. Thank you so much, Ratco. Haplo. Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone. Rob Silverman, another one of our OGs. The Notorious Bizza. Express V and Skippy G, rhyming friends. Winner of Snap Driven's League Season 1 and sponsor of Season 3. Tommy Nyquist. The King of Bros, bruh. Black Dahlia. The Great Kazoo. Jessica Gem. Woody, Ryan Wood. Kev C. Hoda. Luna Chris. Archangel 3K. John K. Not sure if we want K or Q here, but I'm going K because I like it better. My former student and friend, Louis Antunes. Mod Supreme Models. The one and only Darth Vader. Remus Atala. Brian Kaufman. Tristan H. Martin. Our two full names. Jason B. Jaden Metalino, who is streaming again, and if you're looking for him, he's either on the Snap Judgments League Discord or lately watching frickin' Sizer. The Fuzzy Dunlop. Spectrumix. Hoot. Matt H. again. We have two different Matt H's. DJ, Mikey, Hijinks. No Frickin' Flex. Oculars. Mr. Craig Sterry. Seamus, who's getting caught up and doing better. Love you, Seamus. Appreciate you. Jonesy. The man who actually has two ties and the hat my son won't take off. Thank you. Two ties. The Great. The Goat. Lauren Whatevs. The Pirate King Tuccrr. The Homie Min. And of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. I'll see you tomorrow with another Snap Take. Check below. We're going to talk about where I've got linked the previous number one deck. The number one deck that was an arishem list right before this move deck took over the top slot. So check that out. I'll see you tomorrow for another Snap Take. Peace.